Welcome to Baton Rouge, and it is time for some women's gymnastics. I'm told that over 7,000 fans are lined up outside the PMAC to get their commemorative national championship rings because we're in the home of the defending national champs, the LSU Tigers, and it is another sellout here in the PMAC as they host the #7 team in the country, one of their big rivals, the Florida Gators. Hello everyone, I am John Roethlisberger, joined by Sam Peshek. Also Taylor Davis will be with us tonight. Sam, this is one of those meets before the season, you circle it on the calendar.
Well, I've been looking forward to this one because for starters, both of these teams are so stacked with depth. Lots of former national team members, and they both looked really strong out of the gate. Even Florida's head coach Jenny Rowland said she was excited for this meet because it could come down to a head-to-head competition, and that's what I'm hoping for tonight.
It is definitely going to be rowdy in the PMAC. Two great teams, but two of the best individually. We have them here as well tonight.
Yeah, well, Aaliyah Finnegan is currently the #1 gymnast in the nation right now on floor. She's dynamic, and she's so much fun to watch. Coaches say she looks better than ever. Not to mention, she was the athlete to clinch the first ever national title for LSU just last year. And then Leanne Wong from Florida, although it's early in the season, she is the #1 all-arounder in the country right now. But what makes her so special is her consistency across all 4 events and her attention to detail. You'll see it in her form, you'll see it in her artistry, and you'll definitely see it when she sticks those landings.
Aaliyah Finnegan and Leanne Wong, two great resumes. Aaliyah Finnegan, NCAA floor champ, but also Olympian to her name as well. Leanne Wong, an Olympic alternate last summer in Paris as well. Well, when they say you go to Baton Rouge, you got to bring friends, and we've got our friend Taylor Davis.
So far this season for LSU, there's unfortunately been some impact injuries to talk about. We'll start with this vault lineup. They will once again be without their leadoff in KJ Johnson. Last week in their quad meet, she was practicing a leap series on floor, rolled over that ankle. Now head coach Jay Clark tells me she's feeling good. They're optimistic about her return, but she will not be available here tonight. Now some good news, Haley Bryant returned to the beam lineup at their quad meet last week, and tonight we will see her debut on floor. She's been dealing with an elbow injury, and given how much she contributes, head coach Jay Clark says we will practice an abundance of caution with her. But if you know Haley Bryant, John, she is eager to get back in these lineups.
I think she would compete without an elbow if she had the chance, Taylor. She is a competitor, #1 gymnast in the country, won the NCAA all-around championship last season, narrowly beating Florida's Leanne Wong, by the way. Our meet format tonight, if you're just joining us for women's gymnastics, 6 gymnasts for each team go up on each event. 5 scores on each event have to count. So if a team has a mistake, they have a fall from the apparatus, you can drop that score. So it's 1 gimme for each team, if you will. They total up those 5 scores on each event. Highest team score wins, and the home team, LSU, they get to start on vault, and the Florida Gators will start on the uneven bars. And here is freshman Lexi Zeiss.
Starting out with the Yurchenko 1.5. Pretty good. I saw her warm that up, and she was a little under-rotated, and that was really strong controlled landing.
This is a vault that she's had a little bit of struggles with this year, kind of overcoming some ankle injuries as well, but that one looked outstanding.
She's not in that leadoff position for nothing. She's a gamer.
You saw those lines on the mat. Those are kind of guidelines, right, Sam? Not necessarily a hard deduction from the judges, but if you're too far over, that's where you're opening yourself up.
Yeah, well, they're expected to land inside the lines, although it's not a direct deduction. There will probably be a deduction for in the air.
So one of the veterans for this Florida Gator team, Sloan Blakely, such an important competitor for this team.
Oh. That is so
unusual mistake.
Unusual. I was going to say the same thing because last weekend she had such a strong start to her season. Probably best we've seen from her throughout her time at Florida. You can see she's just too far away to get pressure and mistimed her catch there on the bar.
It kind of looked like she had the right distance, but didn't adjust her hands there right at the end, Sam.
It almost looked like her hands got stuck on the high bar, actually, before she let go. repeats it, and very disappointing as an athlete when you repeat it and you have no problems, because you know you can do it correctly. Nails the last handstand. Wouldn't be surprised if she stuck this dismount.
Oh, and look at you calling it.
I know, because she's doing angry gymnastics. You are so frustrated because you knew that you could do it perfectly 100 times.
Unfortunate start for the Florida Gators. They're here in front of a sellout crowd, and this is a tough place for visiting teams to come and win. It just is not something that happens. So they're putting themselves in an early hole. Reminder, you can drop that score. Florida, it feels like in a meet that you expect to be this close, they cannot count a fall on the first event. They're going to have to hit 5, though, in order to do that. One of the best in the country. Here's Aaliyah Finnegan.
Not bad to have your second athlete up have already scored a perfect 10 on this event.
We saw her stick it earlier this year, Sam.
Could this be the first perfect 10, not just of the night, but of the season? Judges are looking for that height. Looks good to me. Distance, chest position when she's landing. Is she inside those lines? Solid.
Well done. Lexi Zeiss led things off with a 9.775. Scores this season compared to previous years have been a little tighter, meaning it's harder to get those 9.9s, those 9.95s. Haven't seen a 10.0 yet this season, so don't expect to see a lot of those high scores. You really got to earn it if you're going to get those numbers. So we're watching Anya Pilgrim get ready to go, a sophomore. She came out in her freshman year, Sam, and just cool, collected, didn't look fazed by this step to collegiate gymnastics.
And she's got a new skill on bars here. I asked head coach Jenny Rowland what was the reason for the change, and she says, honestly, she just likes to challenge herself. Even though she was frustrated, she couldn't learn it in one day, but don't worry, it only took her a couple of weeks, which is still incredible. A little bit of pressure on her now. And coming up is that new skill, low to high. This is called a Van Leeuwen.
Nicely done.
Little shy of that last pass handstand. They have a 10-degree window, but nice duck landing.
Saw her warm that up a couple times before the competition. Just stuck it like it was a standing back tuck.
And here's her new skill, Van Leeuwen. Low to high, really difficult. You don't see many of those throughout the NCAA, but you mentioned it. I saw her in warm-up as well, and she's such a cat. It's like she can stick it out of any position.
And that is the most signature Anya Pilgrim landing right there, as we see Chase Brock quickly over to vault following Aaliyah Finnegan's 9.95. Now, Anya Pilgrim, just the calmest, most reserved. She just flicks her wrists at the end of that stuck landing. Amazing.
She's an athlete that has competed a Yurchenko full. She's also competed a 1.5, but she looks on tonight. You can tell in her eyes that she knew exactly where she was when she was finishing that vault.
So Aaliyah Finnegan with that 9.95. Obviously the high score. You can see the score tower to the right of your screen. And that'll have all the gymnast scores on it from the rotation. So the beginning of the rotation, it shows the order that the athletes will go, their lineup, if you will. And then as they compete, the scores populate. And you'll notice the LSU scores, Lexi Zeiss's score is slightly lighter than the other ones. That means that is the current low score for that team. If all the other scores are higher than that one, they will drop that score. But also keep in mind, currently that score is being counted in that 29.55 for LSU. So that's something to keep in mind. If you got a calculator at home, you can do it yourself. Here's Riley McCusker on bars for Florida.
And this is really a big moment for her. She had trouble last weekend, only scored a 9.1, clipped her foot on the dismount. One of the most beautiful bar workers in the world, actually. So certainly capable of that, but hasn't been in lineups too much with her time at Florida. But they needed a hit bar routine, and that's what she did. She delivered.
Yeah, they needed that one big time. 9.825 for Anya Pilgrim. You mentioned it, Sam, as an elite, Riley was one of the best bar workers in the entire world.
Yeah.
You know, she was the real deal. So trying to figure this out this season for her will be a big, big asset for the Gators if she can do that.
Yeah, her form, her open hips in that handstand, really beautiful.
Kalia Lincoln now on vault for LSU. 9.825 for Chase Brock.
For her, it's about dialing in the landing on this 1.5.
Oh my goodness.
She just has she needs to do a 2.5 for her to
not over
control
rotate.
that. I think she surprised herself with just how much power she had.
How about another flip? We saw Simone Biles do the Yurchenko double pike. Maybe Kalia Lincoln can be the first in college to do it. This is huge.
Judges look for amplitude, and she certainly is not lacking that, but there is a maximum deduction of 4/10 for total of landing steps, so it might be close to that for Kalia.
Yeah, we saw Garrett Griffith in the background, the assistant coach, the main vault coach for them, looking at her hops, going, "You can stop hopping now."
And you can see it in her face. She just couldn't.
And now Sky Blakely, someone who I've been really looking forward to seeing compete this year. Tremendous elite career, and it's good to see her on the bars.
She's got big release moves and looks a little nervous. It's a different kind of pressure from elite gymnastics to being on a team here in college that she's now transitioning to. But check out this dismount. It's huge. It's so good. It's all the way around. Just needing those little details like those stuck landings, which is an added focus in college gymnastics.
And she sticks that vault, or that dismount rather, so well. There is head coach Jenny Rowland in her 10th season as the Gator head coach. Sky Blakely coming off a really heartbreaking Achilles tear this summer, as she was just steps away from being part of that Olympic team. A lot of people wondered where she would be when this season started. Well, to be back on any event, even if it's bars, a predominantly upper body event, is something remarkable. Now sophomore Amari Drayton, another athlete that can absolutely soar on this event.
It's early in the season. She struggled on the landing last year and has been doing much better at that small step forward or controlling the landings. But look at her hip position in the air. Really flat when she comes around to land. It's a blind landing, so it tends to be trickier to stick the landing versus a Yurchenko full.
You see that 9.725 for Kalia Lincoln. That's the new low score. So they are going to have to count Lexi Zeiss's 9.775 are the Tigers. And just to put that in perspective, 9.7s for these teams, the Florida Gators, the LSU Tigers, the top teams in the country, the teams that will vie for a national title later this year, they don't count 9.7s. So you can see Florida's also counting a couple 9.7s as well. So scores are tight. You see Jay Clark, 5th season as the LSU head coach, gets that national championship, the first for the Tigers last year in his 4th season. And here is Selena Harris-Miranda, transfer from UCLA.
And she was such a gamer, coming in clutch moments. That's really her specialty. We saw that a lot with her at UCLA. It's almost like the more pressure she has, the better she does. And similar to Anya, she is such a good job sticking that landing every time.
Bar coach Owen Field loves it. Here's another look.
A little close if I'm being picky, but no problem. Gets it back up to handstand. Really showing the judges she's in that vertical position. And no problems there.
They need that one, as you can see. Riley McCusker a 9.75, Sky Blakely rather a 9.775. They're going to have to count both of those. Amari Drayton for LSU on vault, a 9.875. Now Kaylin Chio, she has been something special for this Tiger team. I know it's early in the season, early in her career. She's only a freshman, but man, she came out of the blocks like a racehorse.
Well, she stuck her last competition vault. Oh! Nearly stuck just a small hop, but her accuracy and consistency, managing nerves as a freshman in this big high energy building is amazing to me. New kid on the block and has no problems.
It's a great look. You can see her eyes on the mat after a full.
She almost had that. You could tell trying to hang on to the stick.
Man, she is going to be something special to watch.
She is something special to watch.
Yeah, 4 years of watching her will be great for gymnastics fans. Selena Harris-Miranda for UCLA, a 9.825. for Florida, that is. And here is Leanne Wong.
She's the #2 ranked gymnast in the country on this event. Little leg separation, coming back down to the low bar. That's called a pack salto, and back up to the high bar. Van Leeuwen, well, we saw that new skill from Anya. Looking for another stuck landing, but just that hop, and you can see it on her face. She is a little frustrated. She expects so much of herself. But this transition was really a highlight for me. Beautifully done. That's really the angle the judges will be looking at. Nice form and shapes in the air. Just couldn't quite hang on to that landing.
So Florida, a little bit of a rough bar rotation. They will drop that Sloan Blakely 9.25, but they will count a couple of 9.7s, a couple scores in the 9.8s, waiting for Leanne Wong's score, which I'm guessing would be the highest score of the rotation for Florida, but it will be LSU with the lead. The matter is how much. And there's the score, 9.85.
Oof.
LSU's got a lead already early. It is early, 0.325 over the Florida Gators. 3 more great rotations. We're out of the gates here in Baton Rouge.
2 collegiate meets has also meant 2 all-around appearances and 2 SEC Freshman of the Week honors. How are you acclimating so quickly?
Honestly, I'm not even sure. I've just kind of gone into the competition and just kind of been doing my own thing, sticking to my process the best way that I know, and it's been helping me move in the right direction.
You've got a couple meets under your belt now. How would you describe what this experience is like so far?
Well, when I first stepped into the PMAC for Gym 101, I was in shock because I didn't know what to expect. I mean, the fans weren't even all there yet, and I was just like, okay, I think this is real. Under the PMAC, under LSU with 3 letters across my chest.
You're doing it for a team that just won a national championship. How has being a part of LSU motivated you to contribute so much early?
I knew when I committed here, whether or not they did or didn't win the national championship, it's where I wanted to be. I've always wanted to do my gymnastics for them, and I got recruited for a reason that Jay and Garrett wanted me here, so I've just been kind of doing my thing and letting everything just play out as they should.
Well, likely the first of many interviews for the talented freshman. But if you ask head coach Jay Clark, Kaylin Chio isn't your typical freshman. He said the composure and confidence that she came in with has only been increased after these first 2 showings. I mean, looking at these numbers, the average score for her all-around performances in the first 2 is historic, and she's looking to build on it, but she's not alone. Part of one of the most stacked freshman classes in the nation. Kaylin told me this week, we know LSU is a program of legacy, and our class is looking to create one of our own. And she is leading the charge. She heads to bars with the rest of her teammates as rotation 2 approaches. LSU with a strong lead over the Gators. Rotation 2 coming up.
Last May, LSU's Connor McClain competed beam at U.S. Classics and got 3rd behind Suni Lee and Simone Biles. But on her next event floor, she tore her Achilles and unfortunately had to end her Olympic run. Then similarly in June, Florida's Sky Blakely was competing at Olympic trials and was projected to be on this past Olympic team. But during the practice day, she tore her Achilles and devastatingly had to pull out of the competition. It was certainly an emotional Olympic trials, to say the least, but I think that's why it's extra special for all of us to get to see them recovering well and thriving here in NCAA gymnastics.
Yeah, Sam, and incredible comebacks for both of them. Less than 8 months for from torn Achilles to competing in NCAA. And when I spoke with Connor McClain this week, she said, look, we all leaned on each other. It was disappointing to see how many of us saw our dreams vanish due to injury. You can add Florida's Kayla DiCello to that list, who is also here on a scooter. But Connor told me we all drew strength from each other, knowing the dreams we ultimately had also included NCAA gymnastics and getting back in time for season.
Yeah, it was quite an astonishing, I don't know if that's the right word, but trials process, seeing Connor go down, and then, of course, the other athletes as well. Shilese Jones, for those of you who follow elite gymnastics, also was injured in that process. Sky Blakely was on the doorstep of that Olympic team.
Yeah.
In fact, what she had done through the championships, all she had to do was be average the rest of the way, and she would have been an Olympian. So heartbreaking for all of them, but great to see them back. Now the Florida Gators, they got themselves a little bit of a hole to dig out of. If you're going to start digging out, you might as well start with Anya Pilgrim.
Well, they have 6'10" vaults, really strong lineup.
How about that for a start?
Great leadoff. Head coach Jenny Rowland said she had too much juice last weekend, and they've really been working in the gym on taking the emotions out and trusting in your training. What she means by that is when you salute and there's thousands and thousands of fans watching you, you can only imagine the extra adrenaline you're going to have in comparison to practice.
Saw her lead off things on vault for LSU. She's going to lead things off here on the uneven bars as well. It's Lexi Zeiss.
Tall order for this freshman to be a leadoff on multiple events. Doing a good job. Needing to get these handstands and pirouettes to vertical. Couldn't ask for anything more from this freshman, though. She is doing outstanding here as an LSU Tiger.
And I know it's only one routine for both of these teams in the second rotation, but this is what you expect. Stuck landing, big vault, big bar routine to lead off, and you just want to see that energy build. Lexi Zeiss out of TCT, Twin City Twisters Gymnastics in Minnesota. Club that has produced many an elite and outstanding collegiate gymnast. Now here's a young athlete, only 16 years old. Here's Lee Bowie.
Doing a Yurchenko 1.5. Nice recovery at the end there. She was really quick to stop moving, which sometimes is difficult to do.
For our women's collegiate basketball Sunday afternoon doubleheader, Stanford takes on number 16 Duke at 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on ESPN2 from Cameron Indoor Stadium. Then number 2 South Carolina hosts number 13 Oklahoma at 3 Eastern on ESPN. Ashley Cowan, now the next gymnast here for LSU, follows a very good start score, 9.825 for Lexi Zeiss. Couldn't hang with that Anya Pilgrim, though, 9.925 rather, in the leadoff spot for the Gators.
Well, last weekend was probably the best bar routine I've ever seen from Ashley. Every detail was dialed in, legs glued together, hoping to repeat that here with another stuck landing. Couldn't quite hang on. When you land on the mat, you really want to absorb the mat. Bend your knees, make sure your chest and your knees are in the correct position to help you stick.
Ashley is the 2024 SEC uneven bar champ. Second gymnast up in the rotation. You got an SEC champ.
Not too bad.
It's an embarrassment of riches right there.
Yeah. I think that's the exact phrase that Garrett Griffith used earlier today.
They have got some talent, both of these teams. Lee Bowie, 9.85. Sloan Blakely now for the Gators.
They're looking to see control. A little wonky when she landed, but
is that a technical
stood up really
term?
tall. I think it's a gymnastics term that everyone watching would understand. She looked a little surprised.
Adrian Burdett, the coach at the end of the vault mat, we were talking to him today. Ran into him at Starbucks, you know, who would have thought? And he was just talking about last year when he wrote on the whiteboard how, in his colorful words, how he wasn't thrilled with how they were landing their vaults. He said the moment he did that they stuck their vaults all the time. So we'll see. Maybe that'll carry over into 2025 for them. Alexis Jeffrey now follows a 9.825, a pair of 9.825s for the Tigers.
She was formerly in that leadoff competition, leadoff spot here on bars, but they thought that she could score a little bit higher further back. Didn't compete last weekend, though. I saw her struggle with this dismount in the warm-up. She needs to get the rotation all the way around. Oh, finds a stuck landing.
You said struggle with that. And she is a mile in the air. I don't think I've seen anybody do that dismount that high.
She gets so much height, but it's not just about the height. It's also about getting the rotation all the way around is what the judges want to see. But good combination in the middle of her routine. And this is where you could see her feet and her knees going a little cockeyed, but again, these athletes are professionals. Even if they're a little crooked, they want to sell it when they salute.
Not wonky, though. That was not wonky?
Well, you can't use the same word twice.
Gotcha. I have seen the crown get stuck in the hair a lot in the last 3 weeks. Can we investigate why the crown keeps getting stuck, the stick crown? Leanne Wong, here she goes on vault. A little bit of a different vault than we've seen from a lot of the other athletes.
It's still a 10.0. Found off half on, front pike off, and that is money. It's a beautiful hop. Last weekend, she just had the smallest scooch, and I want to see, did she stick this? Oh.
Gotta take a half. Gotta take a half.
Smallest scooch right there. But really good job dialing it in.
Felt like Florida really needed to step it up after that first rotation. Don't let this thing get out of hand early, and they've done that on vault. But LSU on bars, they are rolling as well. Caitlin Chio, the freshman, now it's her turn.
Last week, she scored a 9.9 on this event. And, oh, man. So she cast it over, which is obviously a mistake. That's half of a point of a deduction, 5/10. But as most coaches will say, and what Jay will most likely say, is that great job. It was an aggressive mistake. And early in the season, that's what these coaches are asking from their athletes. Caitlin's not going to see it that way right now.
It was a 1 degree from a perfect handstand, but that 1 degree was all it took. It was the tipping point.
But good job recovering. Sometimes athletes that have a mistake play it tight.
Wow, she is going right at those handstands.
Still going for it. Love that. Really aggressive bar worker. And man, she is a monster with these sticks.
That's her first major break of her collegiate career, and the ironic part was that rest of that routine was incredible, and she's 1 degree away from being fantastic again.
Agreed, and I think she's stuck more routines than she has taken a step on, so her average is still incredibly high, but I'm guessing she's not going to be too happy.
Danny Ferris now on vault. Leanne Wong, a 9.925, so a pair of 9.925 for the Gators, a pair of 9.85s. Low score, a 9.85. That's tremendous. They're squeezing down that lead that the Tigers had.
And this is the #1 vaulter in the country right now. Doesn't quite find the landing as smoothly as she did last weekend, but still should be a good score for Florida.
It'll be interesting. She's got to hold that finish position for a full second in the direction that she landed. She took that hop, and I don't know if it wasn't a full second, that will be additional deductions. We'll see if we can figure that out when the judges' score comes up. 1 left to go. Selena Harris-Miranda will anchor the vault rotation for the Gators. There's Caitlin Chio's 9.225. Again, if you're just joining us, the lightly shaded scores on the right are the scores they drop. They count the top 5 scores, does each team on each event. So like the Gators on bars, the Tigers are also going to try to drop that mistake. Here is Aaliyah Finnegan. If you want anybody up after a miss, I feel like this is the person, Sam.
Yeah, absolutely. She had so much experience. Huge release move to get things going. And sometimes athletes play it safe after a fall, and I'm not seeing that from Aaliyah.
Wow, that was a save.
I wonder what's going on with these bars. All these athletes are struggling on the low bar, but I like how aggressive these athletes are being. New dismount for her right there. Definitely not her best, but she needed to stay on the equipment, and she did. Look at that.
Right hand just looked like it came off, Sam.
Yeah, that was strange. But wow, the amount of strength to recover from that, not hit your feet on the ground, pretty impressive.
So it was a .325 lead for LSU after the first rotation. Based on what Florida is doing on vault, that lead is going to shrink, if not evaporate, as the last gymnast to go here, Selena Harris-Miranda. She follows Danny Ferris's 9.825.
Coaches said she was nervous last weekend, and she can breathe now.
Oh, that was nice.
Yeah, that is exactly the type of vault we know Selena can do. She just does really well in this anchor position. Knowing that there's more pressure on her, that's all I can say. She's an athlete.
Yeah, she is special. Came into college as the #1 freshman in that class, and the Gators certainly thrilled to have her on their team now. Connor McLean coming back from that Achilles tear. Talk about someone that can execute gymnastics. The form and the beauty of her gymnastics is second to none, and she's going to have to be on top of it here. Aaliyah Finnegan, a 9.825.
She had that torn Achilles that she's coming back from. Doesn't quite have the numbers that some of the other athletes on the team have, but she's an athlete that doesn't need that. She is just so clean. Her form is next level. No built-in deductions is what I like to call it.
Wow.
That is going to be a huge score. I didn't see any visible deductions. I'm curious what the judges are going to do with this.
Where is she, Waldo? He's in the crowd. Connor McLean, I'll tell you what, she needed a 9.775 for LSU to get the lead, and she did.
That couldn't be more vertical if you tried. Her shoulders are open, her her hips are open. Great work.
I should say 9.775 for them to maintain the lead. They had the lead coming into this rotation. For Connor McLean, that's the degree of difficulty of me making toast in the morning for her to get a 9.775. Fully expect that number to be well above that. Maintain the lead for LSU, but the lead's going to shrink a little bit. Florida with a nice vault rotation.
Coaches thought this meet was going to go head-to-head, and it's going to turn out to be that way, I think.
Kaylin Chio with that mistake, and Aaliyah Finnegan with that small blip on the low bar, but didn't cost her a lot. Taylor Davis is with the head coach of the Florida Gators, Jenny Rowland.
Thank you, John. Well, Coach, first routine, unfortunately a fall, but quite the response from your vault lineup. How did they settle in?
Absolutely. We always say we're never going to have a perfect meet, and we have 6 athletes up, 5 scores count. We're going to have each other's back. So really proud of the team following up with the fall and finishing strong. Heading into vault, really aggressive vaults. Really excited to see that and looking forward to seeing that carry over to floor.
We're at the halfway point of a matchup that has quite the history. What do you want to see from these next 2 rotations?
Really just the Gators to take a breath and to do what we do in the gym and really have a lot of fun on this event, and then just to finish strong.
Thanks for the time. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
John.
Thanks, Taylor. Leanne Wong, one of the best in the business in collegiate gymnastics, in elite gymnastics. She's an Olympic team member, a world medalist. We'll learn more about her when we come back.
Walking through that moment of the Olympic trials was truly an experience that I will never forget and forever grateful. So blessed to be able to be by Leanne's side and support her along her journey and all the things that she has tried to accomplish in her life. And that moment when they announced her as alternate, it truly was surreal.
When my name was called for the 2024 Olympics, I was still excited just to be able to be a part of the team, even if it was in a different role. I still had my part on the Olympic team to be ready at any time. Being an alternate for the second time was definitely a little tough, but just kind of reflecting on like everything I did before that and just continuing to stay in college gymnastics before the Olympics and just continuing my education. I mean, I should be really proud of where I got. It's definitely a tough journey and just having like Friday nights in the back of my mind, but also the Olympics.
Leanne Wong is a special athlete. At the NCAA championship last year, one stuck landing away from winning the all-around title. But Sam, she's a world medalist, Olympic team member. She's outstanding.
Yeah, and I talk about her consistency often, and it's not just in college, but it's also in elite. She hasn't had very many off seasons and still competes at a high level. But she has 4 world championship medals and is in good company on her team. Florida has 8 world championship medals. But what's really impressive is when you're comparing Florida's roster with LSU's roster, check this out. Look at the number of former national team members or current national team members. 18 are in teams from this meet right here in comparison to the rest of the SEC. Very impressive.
The elite athletes, such a big presence in collegiate gymnastics now. We are halfway through. It's the LSU Tigers with less than 2/10 head of the Gators. On ESPN. Help people affected by the California wildfires in 2025. Donate at redcross.org/ESPN to help the Red Cross respond and help people recover. Such a tragic scene. Loss of life, loss of property. Our thoughts and prayers go out to everybody in California. Our meet summary here in Baton Rouge. It's the home team right now with just that .175 lead. Connor McLean finished off that last rotation, and that score, 9.925, was much needed. So less than 2/10. What's 2/10? That's 2 steps on landings. That's very, very close. So anybody's competition here yet to go, Sam, as we see LSU goes to balance beam, Florida goes to floor exercise.
Sierra Ballard, known as the cruise director, she owns this role as the leadoff. And what's most impressive to me is not even her skills, although she does those well, it's her demeanor. You see that look in her eyes that she is just going to attack this routine, and you can tell she does it for her team.
I did ask her, though, she's never heard of the show The Love Boat, and she doesn't know who Julie McCoy is.
I also don't know that.
Sam. We'll talk about that later. One of the greatest shows of all time. That's maybe a stretch, but here we go. Sierra Ballard, also called the fire starter, if you will, by Jay Clark, and her ability to really get a rotation off on the right foot. She starts here, and she typically starts the floor rotation as well.
I'm also impressed that she can do beam with her bangs. I know it's a girl thing to say, but everyone understands. You want to have full visibility on the beam. Wow, crooked on that back handspring layout. Nice adjustment. You know, there's some athletes that salute that are so well prepared that no matter how crooked they are, they're not coming off this beam. And Sierra Ballard gives me that energy. Good front toss, extra arm movement, but good job minimizing the deductions and the wobbles. She expects a lot from herself, looking for a stuck landing. And she is just rinse and repeat with this lead-off beam routine. They are lucky to have her.
That is just what she does. You saw beam coach Ashley Nat, former LSU Tiger, greet her as she came off the mat. Just time and time again, in such an important role. It's usually the people at the end of the lineup that get a lot of the attention, maybe a lot of the big scores like the 10-0s, but there is no more important lineup spot than that lead-off one, especially on the balance beam. Here is Victoria Wynn. Now for the Florida Gators. First chance to see her tonight.
It's a really beautiful routine. Last weekend, though, she had a little oopsie, started out of bounds, which is a 1/10 deduction. So head coach Jenny Rowland said she is not going to go out of bounds this week.
She just wink at you, Sam?
I think so. Finishing nice combination pass. Certainly an improvement from last weekend, and I really like her in this leadoff spot. No one asked me my opinion, but she is so
I do, Sam.
solid. Other than the leg separation right there on her first pass, it was a really clean routine. Does a nice job keeping the rhythm on that combination pass.
We saw Sierra Ballard start things off strong for LSU. Victoria Wynn said, well, let me take my turn, and she did exactly what she needed to do in that leadoff spot. Here is Kylie Cohen for the LSU Tigers in her first competitive routine for LSU in her career, now in her sophomore season.
Yeah, I had a chance to talk with Courtney McCool-Griffith, one of the coaches for LSU, about Kylie, and she said, man, she has just worked so hard to get ready for this. She connected the dots over the summer, and it all just started clicking, and she was really prepared from this fall's training.
What a debut in front of a sellout crowd on your home floor against one of the biggest rivals, if not the biggest rival for you in the conference, the Florida Gators.
She looks confident. Moving nicely through this routine. What a way to finish your first competitive routine.
Set the bar high. What's she going to do for an encore? That was fantastic. A little slide of the foot on the landing, but man, other than that, it was...
I think this right here, to me, it looks to be the biggest deduction. Judges have the ability to take up to 2/10 for a lack of 180. We typically don't see that big of a deduction for leaps, but I think the judges might take a little there.
Victoria Wynn a 9.9, so she won up by 1/4 of a tenth Sierra Ballard's opening score. And now Danny Ferris, sophomore from Palm Coast, Florida. Came in as a 5-star recruit. Was tagged the #3 freshman in the country last year.
Such a powerful athlete. She had a preseason ankle injury, so this is actually her first time competing floor this season. Opening double layout. Oh, full in. You know what's funny is head coach Jenny Rowland said she trains both, which are two extremely difficult tumbling passes, and competes them interchangeably. Tough to do. playing a floor routine this season. It's always nice to rip the Band-Aid off and jump back into things. This is that first pass, tuck full in. You want to look at that front foot and make sure it's not sliding. Hers did not. Judges will be looking at those feet planted after each tumbling pass.
So a pair of 9.875s to start for LSU. Florida looking at 2 solid scores for them from their opening 2 athletes as well, trying to shave into that .175 lead that the Tigers had. Here's Kaylin Chio now trying to rebound from that unfortunate fall off the uneven bars.
Very light and airy back handspring layout. She just floats when she's on beam. One of the things that I really like about Kaylin as a beam worker is her arm positions in each of her skills. They are so still, almost like she places them in the right position. Front aerial into a split jump. Nicely done. Keeping her arms calm really helps her be steady on the beam. She's really competitive, has that perfectionist mentality, and it works out well for her. So I knew she was gonna be extra dialed in on this routine, especially after that mistake on bars, but nicely done. This freshman, every single routine she delivers.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to give a shout out to my co-host here, Sam Pescic, because before the season even started, she said, Kaylin Chio. And I said, who? No, she said Kaylin Chio is going to be incredible this year. And she has outlived, I think, even maybe your expectations.
Yes.
She has been lights out. Wow. All right, Danny Ferris, a 9.875. So Florida's picked up a 1/4 of a tenth as Sloan Blakely now takes to the floor. 4 more yet to go for Florida, 3 more for LSU.
This is a full in. It's new for her this year, but you couldn't tell.
New?
Yeah. So fun hearing her sister Sky Blakely screaming and cheering for her right here in the corner we're sitting by. Well done. Coaches say their dynamic and friendship on the team is really special to see. Sky just really looks up to Sloan, is really vocal about how much she admires her sister. It's really special.
There is Sky just doing bars, again, coming back from that Achilles injury, but certainly making the most of her cheerleading on the sidelines. Taylor?
Well, guys, we talked about Connor McLean's injury this past summer, but it hasn't been just about physical healing for her. I spoke with her this week, and she was transparent with me saying, look, this time last year, I was questioning why I was even doing this. She said, I wasn't happy. I no longer loved it. But as season went on, she said, I fully immersed myself in being a part of this team and a part of LSU. And by the end of season, I was in love with gymnastics again, and it's why I even went back to pursue elite. She said, when I was sitting on the table and they were wrapping my Achilles, I told myself, this will not send me back into that negative headspace. This is going to be part of my story. She is beaming down here tonight, dancing, having fun with her friends. And guys, having watched her last season, it's a completely different, happier version that we're seeing of Connor McClain.
Thanks, Taylor. I really do. We think we've maybe seen the best Connor McClain here in the last 12 months or so, even with that injury.
Yeah, this, I think, is my favorite event to watch her compete on. She has no built-in deductions, little wobble. It's always funny how sometimes you wobble on the easiest skills.
We're going to call that choreography.
Choreography. We'll see what the judges think about that choreography. But her leaps are always over 180, and she does a nice job landing with both feet bent on the beam to really show the judges the control she has on each skill. Tries to hang on to that dismount. You know, holding the finish position is one of the biggest changes that we're seeing. They've got to hold it for at least 1 second or it's a half-tenth deduction. I mean, no question here.
The protractor doesn't lie.
No, and it's in slow-mo, so props to her for always going above and beyond, not even giving the judges a second to question if she was full amplitude and full split.
Well done, Connor McClain. Sloan Blakely for Florida on floor, a 9.95. I'm told one judge gave her a 9.9, the other gave her a 10. As we see Taylor Clark, Kaylin Chio, a 9.925. So another quarter of a tenth in favor of the Gators.
Now, John, you gotta watch this first pass. She's doing a double layout, and it's huge.
Wow.
But you see that front foot, it slid ever so slightly when she landed. Jeremy Miranda, longtime choreographer for Florida, told me at the beginning of the meet that Taylor is electric when she does this routine. She's a little shy getting going, but he says be prepared for something big from her. This is that double layout, and coaches gave her the utmost compliment by comparing it to Trinity Thomas's double layout because it's just so big.
Come on now. Trinity Thomas, one of the best ever?
What a compliment.
It is very similar, actually. Both Gators and both know how to fly. Haley Bryant now defending NCAA all-around champ. Dealing with that elbow injury, so not doing the all-around, unfortunately, for LSU, but something they're being very cautious with and fully plan on her being on all the events as we get further down the season.
Front aerial continues her arm moving. Her arm's moving to show the judges it's connected. Coming up right here is the most impressive part of the routine to me. Most gymnasts do a punch front. She doesn't do the punch part. She just does a standing front. Very few people in the world could probably do that. She's not new here, and she's definitely not new to that stuck landing. Improvement from last week, too. I know she's itching to get back to all 4 events.
The crowd wants a 10. Of course they do.
I mean, check this out. No momentum going in to help her. That is pure strength right there. And for someone as powerful as Haley, she's really figured out how to dial in those landings.
Connor McLean got a 9.9. As we mentioned, Kaylin Chio a 9.925. Some big scores from both of these teams this rotation. Florida's Taylor Clark a 9.875. Florida's got to continue to put up some big numbers as we see the Olympic alternate for Team USA in Paris last summer, Leanne Wong, take the floor.
And this is really the event that Florida is hoping to improve from last weekend, having a couple of mistakes here. Similar skill we've been seeing, double layout, round off back handspring, 2 flips in a straight body position. Came up short.
Coach Jenny Rowland was telling us about Leanne. She settled on the double layout. She's got a lot of options she could have done on that pass, and she said, yeah, she settled on the double layout. It would be nice, right?
Yeah. I'd put my money on Leanne Wong if I was a betting gal.
That was a good routine, but you know she's thinking about that first pass, right?
She's thinking about this right here. So the judges want to see a landing control, and you can't land short. So see how her chest was almost parallel. You saw it on her face right there. Oh, Jeremy Miranda, that's the longtime choreographer. I always like watching him on the sideline too. He's got great energy.
The Leanne Wong game face, though, that did not change.
She knew that she came up a little shy on that double A.
Haley Bryant, 9.95. And now Aaliyah Finnegan on the event. She clinched the national title for LSU. She anchors the beam rotation here again.
She's gotten 1 perfect 10 on this event, 7 total. Opens with an impressive triple series. That was really strange. She looked straight from this angle. Sometimes you wobble, not because you're crooked, but because you're worried about something later in the beam routine or a little nerve set in.
Or your calculus homework. Okay, that's the bad news. She wobbled. The good news is the lowest score for LSU is a 9.875. So the only way she helps the team is if she scores above that number. So not a lot of room for improvement anyways, but you know, Aaliyah Finnegan certainly looking for perfection every time she goes up.
Finishes strong, of course. Just that wobble on her series. And the interesting thing is some athletes would wobble and make it a bigger deal, but yeah, I guess you see her front foot, her heel is a slightly off, but I'm curious to, I want to talk to her and see what she thought happened, because it didn't look too crooked.
We're going to set up that meeting.
Yeah.
We're going to make that happen.
Okay. You know me, I'm always curious about beam.
So Aaliyah Finnegan finished things off for LSU on beam. Selena Harris Miranda now will finish things off for Florida on the floor exercise. Leanne Wong, a 9.825, the lowest score for Florida so far in this rotation. Currently 1/10 behind LSU. Waiting for this last score.
Front tuck into a double back. This routine is fun. She is so expressive, not just with her body language, but her facial expressions too.
Better than a 9.875 for Selena will give her the lead in the all-around as well.
Starting off with that front tuck into a double back. Check out that front foot. She does a really good job keeping it planted. But this is where I'd like to see her have a bit more rotation all the way around.
So LSU will have the lead. The matter is, how much will that lead be? Will it grow? We will find out. A 49.525 for LSU on that beam rotation ties their season high. Taylor Davis is with what I assume is a happy head coach of the LSU Tigers, Jay Clark.
I could assume, John, but how about we find out? John wants to know if you're happy through 3 rotations. What you think?
Happy but not satisfied. We always got to do better. No, this is one of those things. It's the opening SEC meet. Both teams are kind of feeling each other out early on, and now they're settling down. And you're seeing 2 of the best teams in the country right now. And yeah, I'm happy, not satisfied.
Not surprised at all. We about to see Haley Bryan on floor?
We are.
Look forward to it. Love it.
First time.
Thanks for the time.
Go Tigers.
How about that for a tease? We get to see the NCAA all-around champ on floor for the first time this season. So much buzz about women's college gymnastics that the greatest ever is going to Athens, Georgia tonight to see her Olympic coach in their home debut. Simone Biles will be there ringside.
Yeah, and that Leanne Wong walk-off win in this matchup last year just embodies how intense it's been over the years. And that goes for all sports, whether it was the crazy upset in the Swamp this past football season or the Tigers win in Omaha in 23. This isn't just one of the best rivalries in the SEC, John. This is one of the best in the nation. Having been a part of it across all sports in previous years, I can say it's living up to that hype here tonight, too.
Thanks, Taylor. Yeah, we've got a good one here at the PMAC as well. These competitions between these two teams always so close. We see a host associate head coach, Courtney McCool-Griffith, on the right side. They're slamming down the heel. The theme is attack it and go take it. It's the heel slam, and then they also have to repair the floor where the high heel just punctured it. So here's the tail of the tape. It is a 2/10 lead. Selena Harris Miranda finished that last rotation with a 9.9 on floor exercise. So 2/10 of a point. It's not a lot, Sam, but when you're talking about being the visiting team in the national champions house and trying to make up that tenth and finishing on beam, no small task.
Yeah, when I was talking to head coach Jenny Rowland about this lineup, she said this leadoff spot was in question. But the reason Skylar Dracer is in this spot is because of how steady she is. Little hiccup. Good recovery, though. You can see her visibly breathing through this beam routine, and it may sound funny if you haven't done a beam routine, but you have to remind yourself to breathe throughout this routine in order to calm your nerves.
I've never been sad that I've never done a beam routine, actually. Great start.
And that's what they wanted in their leadoff athlete. Skylar delivers.
Coach Jenny Rowland right there. She told us this week that she could field 2 lineups on beam. They have so much depth and compete either one of them, which I can think makes picking your lineup that much more challenging.
Yeah, I got a few comments about that. We'll get into it later.
Sierra Ballard, she started off beam outstanding for the Tigers, got them on the right track there. She will need to do that here again. 2/10 of a point. Not a lot. Got to land clean. She seems relaxed.
Yeah, she does. And I saw her warm up, and she was nailing every pass. It almost looks like gymnastics is just so easy for her right now.
We talk about all the national team members and Olympians and world team members that compete collegiately. Sierra's mom, Lori, 88 and 92 Olympian for Team Canada.
You're going to see a double layout. She gets a lot of air. To a stuck landing. You don't get extra points for sticking it, but man, is it impressive.
One of the few three-pass routines now that we're seeing in collegiate gymnastics. The three-pass routine kind of going the way of the rotary phone. You don't see a lot of them anymore.
But the talk of the town is really judging this year, and it seems to be a bit tighter than in previous years. And I'm going to show you what they're talking about. Check out her feet when she lands. So she lands, but her toes slightly shift. In past years, that may have been forgiven or overlooked, if you will, but this year they seem to be taking more of those landing deductions, which is a half-tenth in this case.
How about the double pike, though? I mean, like a
It's not a tit-for-tat situation. It doesn't erase what she did, even though it was impressive, John. You know this.
Here's your all-around update as well. Looks like a three-person race at the top. Selena, Leanne, and Leah vying for that all-around crown. Here's Sloan Blakely, follows Skylar Drazer's 9.85.
Good connection. Nice rhythm from one acro to the other. She's the 4th ranked beam worker in the country right now, and Jenny Rowland, their coach, was just going on and on about how consistent she is in training and said, man, I'm just happy that her beam in competition is really reflecting all the hard work she's been putting in the gym. Gorgeous. Incredible job. I'm curious what the judges are going to take. I've said that a couple times tonight, but all of these skills are technically sound. No arm movements, no little wobbles or bobbles throughout the routine. And when you stick it like that, hold the landing, it's going to be a big number regardless.
Sierra Ballard started out with a 9.825. I'll tell you what, the PMAC does not like that number. Got some boos from the crowd. Last time we saw her here at home as well, she started off with an amazing routine. Looked like it was going to be higher. It was also lower than I expected. So as long as they stay consistent, as we see Olivia Dunn now in the 2 spot, 5th-year senior.
Front tuck into a double back, moving right out of it. floor routine for LSU. Just a few of those slides on the landing. I'm being extra picky to try and point them out to you guys because that is what the judges are really looking for, especially early on in this season.
As we head back over to beam, what do you got, Taylor?
Well, guys, we all got to know Anya Pilgrim last year as completely unfazed by the big stage. And when I talked to her this week, she said this preseason was even better than last year, and I'm hoping for a better season because of it. Keep in mind, she was competing for Barbados at the World Championships ahead of last NCAA season. She said this preseason, it allowed her more time, new skills, and even more investment to this team. But you want to talk about unfazed, it is necessary in this situation. This crowd, this student section, is right behind this beam lineup, and they have been loud closing out this meet.
Yeah, Taylor, well, coaches say that she started off in this leadoff spot last weekend for the first time, but she likes to win. So it's a good athlete to be in that role because, like you mentioned, I think she's unfazed by it all.
Yeah, she always seems to have that cool, calm demeanor, and here she is following Sloan Blakely's 9.95. Pressure is being applied by the Gators. You can see a little bit, I say a slow start score-wise, 9.825 for Sierra Ballard as we wait for Olivia Dunn's routine. So here comes the pressure from the Gators.
She looks really calm. Good job. She, again, unfazed, so she can go in that leadoff spot. She can go later in the lineup, put her wherever, and she's going to hit this beam routine.
Doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. You got to love Anya Pilgrim. It all comes down to this, the College Football Playoff National Championship game presented by AT&T at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Ohio State squares off against Notre Dame Monday at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific time on ESPN. Who you got, Sam?
It's a toss-up. I don't know. Notre Dame.
It's gonna be a fun one. Amari Drayton now on floor follows Olivia Dunn's 9.875. So you look at those scores, slight advantage on both of those routines for the Gators.
Short on that landing. When a gymnast lands short and has to take a step in the wrong direction, that means in front of her, it's a 10th deduction. Ooh. Off balance on that wolf turn. I'm really curious to see what the judges will do with that. Technically, it's a fall. She turned backwards, but she tried to play it off like dance. I'm curious to see.
Well, all those little things adding up. It's only a 2/10 lead again for LSU coming into this rotation. Hey, shout out to Alicia Quinn, Alicia Sacramone for gymnastics fans out there. They welcome number 5, Sam. Number 5, Cade Frederick Quinn. I'm sure her husband Brady is excited, not just because of Cade, but his Notre Dame Fighting Irish are in the national championship game. So congratulations to the Quinn family. I did talk to Alicia today by text, and she did tell me she is pregnant again now already. There's number 6 on. No, I'm kidding. She said that's it, allegedly. We'll see. Here we go. Victoria Wynn. This is a rotation for the Gators. A 9-9 for Anya Pilgrim. 3 yet to go.
I would say this is their strongest event and the event that they are most confident on. And I asked Jenny Rowland, head coach, how do you choose the lineup? And she said, man, it is so hard. She said, really what it comes down to is who can compete under pressure and how often are you sticking your dismount? So there's a lot of inner gym competition, especially on this event for the Gators. pulls it up. It's what I would formally call a college stick.
A little quick. That's
But-
probably going to be that deduction we talked about earlier.
Yeah, but everything on the beam was so solid. Check this out. In a nodie into a back handspring, and a nodie is a back handspring with a half twist. Finishing back handspring 1.5, pulls it up, tries to pull a fake right there. We'll see what the judges think of that.
And those little things can mean the difference as you see Amari Drayton, a 9.75. Not a good score in this moment of the meet when it looks like 9.9s are really going to be the magic number. If you drop the low score for each team right now, it is a 0.5 that LSU has the lead over Florida. Again, reminder, they can drop that low score. It is razor thin. Here's Caitlin Chio.
Open, tough pull in. Now she was short too, taking a step forward, should be 1/10 deduction. Beautiful oversplit leap combination. Another solid routine to her resume for the year. But check out this first pass. This is the most visible deduction that I saw. Her chest was low and she took a step forward, but even her step forward, which is a mistake, even she does that so gracefully.
She makes mistakes gracefully,
She does.
is what you're saying.
Every coach's dream is that an athlete can make a mistake and make it look as seamless as Caitlin Chio.
We've seen some short landings on floor. I feel like more so than usual, maybe pressing a little bit. Leanne Wong now on beam. 5th gymnast to go. You can see the scores for the Gators. 3 9.9 pluses in a row. And these last two athletes, Leanne and Selena, can go big, but a mistake already.
Man, Leanne has looked off this entire meet. Very uncharacteristic for her. And she's also the #1 beam worker in the country right now. She's doing a nice job settling in. Sometimes it's tricky making a mistake on your first skill. It's harder than you think to just forget about it and move on, staying in the moment here. And this dismount is new for her this year. It's a gainer full off the end. Slight hop, but good job finishing. Jenny gave her a few options to choose for dismounts because she just didn't stick the other one enough. And yeah, you just see her right side of the foot just totally on that right side. Oftentimes, gymnasts with that mistake would fall, but not Leanne, of course, John.
Savvy gymnast she is. You can see the hug from Jenny Rowland there. She knows Leanne's standards, again, very high. If you ever need a big routine, having the NCAA champ on floor exercise in your lineup at this very moment is quite an asset.
Talk about NCAA champions.
We got back-to-back here to finish things up for LSU. The crowd was not happy with that Caitlin Chio score of a 9.825. Aaliyah Finnegan now in the 5 spot. Haley Bryant in the anchor spot for LSU. 1/4 of a tenth separates these teams right now.
Huge double Arabian to a stag jump. Scored 5 perfect 10s on this event. You can tell how comfortable she looks out there.
Better than a 9.825 for Aaliyah Finnegan. Will also put her in the lead in the all-around. Flying Finnegan with a big routine when LSU needed it. Trying to take advantage of that 9.775 from Leanne Wong on beam and hold the lead.
I've seen this first tumbling pass so many times, and it never gets old. But this is where the deduction came. You see that front tuck, she needed to take a step forward. Unfortunately, even though it, again, looked pretty, she took a step back, and that will be a 1/10 deduction.
Pressure on Selena Harris-Miranda now. You can see that low score of a 9.775. They got to drop that. The 1/4 of a tenth difference I mentioned earlier was with the low score drop, so that lightly shaded score. So that is how close it is when you take that score out, as we see the 2024 Pac-12 Gymnast of the Year.
Triple series. Coaches said that last week she told them that she felt like she was a level 4 because of how nervous she was. But she's feeling much better coming into today's competition.
Has to hit this routine to give Florida a chance. They cannot count that 9.775, and I feel like she's got to stick the landing too, given how close this meet is. Aaliyah Finnegan, a 9.95 for LSU.
Well, no one loves this anchor spot more than Selena Harris-Miranda. Add that on to, she really likes to stick.
Oh! She wanted it so bad, Sam.
She did. She wanted it. Sometimes when you try too hard for a stuck landing, you force it and you incur a few other deductions, but this was nice. Back handspring layout, back handspring. No movement at the end. And she just stood up a little too soon.
Just looked for it.
Yeah,
she opened up and
knew.
looked for it. And she keep an eye, and remember rather, that 1/10 hop. Will it be the difference? She was not in the lineup that we originally saw for floor coming into this night's competition, but Haley Bryant is in the lineup now. She's been battling an elbow injury early this season. They've held her out. Only did beam so far this year, but here she is on floor exercise in what is already the first biggest moment of this 2025 season.
She's back, baby.
Needs a 9.825 to clinch the meet for LSU. That is no problem for Haley, but again, she's been out. You still got to deliver.
Coaches said they thought it was going to come head-to-head, and look at this. There's only one Haley Bryant, and every time she steps on the competition floor, she proves that again and again. It's great to see her back.
We don't know what the judges are going to come up with, but I don't think we need to find out. That looks like a meat clinching routine.
Double front. Just a slight hop forward. No movement there, nicely done. And the crowd is going wild.
The crowd of 13,513, the third largest crowd in LSU history, is here to see a big moment for the LSU Tigers in this big-time rivalry. The legend grows of Haley Bryant. Put her in, coach, and she delivered when they needed it. But I tell you what, how about Florida coming on at the end and really putting the pressure on the Tigers?
Jenny Rowland said it was going to be a good test for them, and I think she proved that they have one of the top, if not the top, bean workers in the country.
It's a 9-9 for Haley Bryant, and it is going to be a 1/10 win for the home team, LSU. We said it was going to be a tight one. LSU came out strong on that first event, but the Gators battle back and make it close. We're going to wrap things up when we come back. Or here in Baton Rouge, the home teams, they get pushed, but in the end, they get the win, 197-55 over the visiting Florida Gators with a 197-45. The all-around title, well, it was even closer. It was a tie. Aaliyah Finnegan from LSU and Selena Harris-Miranda, what a job she's doing for the Gators already. They tie for the all-around title. Well, Taylor Davis is with the hero, the clincher of tonight's competition, Haley Bryant.
A title she knows all too well, John. Well, Haley, you're back. Beam, and we added floor here tonight. The crowd erupted at your return. How would you describe the experience tonight was for you?
It was absolutely amazing. I'm just so honored to be back out here with my team. They really helped me through kind of this little dip I had in the preseason, and they were just by my side every step of the way, so I could not have done it without them. But I'm so excited to be back out there with them because they are the best, and I want to do it for them and everybody in this room.
197-55 over a very talented Florida team. We're just 3 weeks into season, but how is this team setting a precedent early?
I think just doing what we do every single day in the gym, because like we said, we competed against a very good SEC team, and we knew that coming in. So kind of just celebrating it. Obviously it's a big win, but turning the page and not settling into where we are, because there's always room to improve. So we're going to take one step forward and work towards Arkansas now, because this one's in the past.
You accomplished basically everything there was to accomplish in the sport last year. You chose to come back for a 5th year. You're dealing with an injury, but to hear the crowd roar the way it did when you were on floor, how do moments like that add and fuel you for why you came back?
That means absolutely everything. That's one of the main reasons I want to come back, because I love this program. I love the fan base. I love every single thing that they bring into this arena. So just hearing them at the end and my teammates screaming for me was just literally everything I could have asked for and more, and I just love them so much, and I love Louisiana, and I'm just excited to do gymnastics for them one more year.
Well, here's to a 3rd event coming very soon. Congrats on the win.
Thank you so much.
John.
Thanks, Taylor. Sam, feels like maybe a preview of what we're going to see at the SEC Championships, right?
Oh man, I'm excited. There is good gymnastics brewing, and it's great to see every single weekend.
It was a great one here in Baton Rouge. Lived up to the billing. The Tigers get the win. Here is our schedule. Next week's slate in the ESPN family of networks. Pick one. You won't be disappointed. It is going to be a fun season. A lot up for grabs. Congratulations to LSU. For Sam Pesek and Taylor Davis, I am John Roethlisberger. Thanks for joining us. So long for Baton Rouge.